people told me, oh, they have no citizenship. Just a minute. They have an ID card, a Palestinian one. They have a passport, a Palestinian one. They have a government, a Palestinian one. They have houses, they have jobs. So why to stay with the status of refugees? A question.
This is a Visegrad 24 series about the Israel-Hamas war.
Visegrad 24 is in Tel Aviv with Grisha Yakubovich, the former mayor of Gaza.
Well, I can say the last Israeli one.
Well, for now, we'll see what happens in the future.
No, I don't want to be the mayor again.
No, but I mean, there is the debate about what will be the future administration of Gaza after the IDF has taken full control of the territory. We have seen some initiatives from Egypt to try to get Saudi Arabia and Qatar to find some form of Palestinian technocratic solution. Of course, there are other people who say that the Palestinian Authority should be allowed to come in and take over. But so far, it looks like for at least the months or years ahead, there will be Israeli administration for now. Is this a fair assessment?
This is what I thought, but as long as Israel is not taking control over the border between Gaza and Egypt, that's a very strategic act that has issues that we would need to solve with the Egyptians, of course, and issues that we would need to solve with ourselves. And why is that? Because the moment the IDF will take or will gain the control and will effectively control that border, according to the international law, 2.1 million people in Gaza will be under Israeli responsibility. And this is one of the things that Israel wants to avoid from.
Well, that border has been problematic also for Egypt for a long time. These tunnels that have been built below. There was an attempt, at least a couple of years ago, by Egypt where they were destroying a lot of these tunnels. In some cases, they were using water to flood these tunnels. And of course, on the other side, in Egypt, you have the Sinai Peninsula, which has seen the most intense Islamist insurgency in Egypt in recent years. After the fall of Mohamed Morsi and al-Sisi came in and took over. There has been a little bit of stabilization, but still, Sinai is far from being a very safe place at the moment. Or am I correct in this?
Well, let's talk about the western part of Sinai. That is literally not a safe place. But Israel allowed to the Egyptians to bring in more force, more soldiers. By the way, it was not supposed to happen according to the ceasefire or to the peace agreement between Israel and Egypt. There was a certain amount of soldiers that are supposed to be there, and Egypt fighting ISIS in Sinai. They had to bring more forces, so Israel allowed it. So, by the way, if Israel did that, so how come the Egyptians think that what we intend to do by taking control over this border is against the agreement? They also did things against the agreement that we accepted.
Also, it could be worth remembering viewers that the Sinai Peninsula for some time was under Israeli control completely as well.
Until 1982.
But was given back.
It was given back when we implemented the peace agreement with Egypt that was led by Anwar Sadat from Egypt, that was assassinated because of that fact that he made peace with Israel.
A very viral video which it was broadcasted at the time.
This border is a border that was used by Hamas, by terror organizations, by ISIS also. And I want to clarify that, if I may, okay? So Israel shares a border with Egypt. It's something like 200 and something kilometers from...
Where there is a Kaaba, if I'm not mistaken, yes? By Eilat.
From Kerem Shalom and down to Eilat, 200 and something kilometers. So we share interests with Egypt, okay? So Israel had to build a security fence, a big one, a major one. If you look at it, by the way, just a comment, if you look at it, we've built the fence in Lebanon, we've built a fence in Syria, we've built a fence with Egypt, and now what is left is to build a fence with Jordan. Actually, we are putting ourselves inside a prison because we want to defend ourselves. as weird as it sounds, okay? But we need those fences to protect our civilians. And also Gaza. What proved us that a fence cannot stop terror. They will find creative ways. And it's not only in Israel, it will be all over the world. But let's be focused on that border. So it's 200 something kilometers of shared interests that only yesterday there was an event of drug dealers that were killed on that border trying to smuggle drugs. So anywhere where you smuggle drugs, usually it comes with weapons. The same thing is happening on the border between Jordan and Syria. The Jordanians recently twice attacked a convoy. They have smugglers who were supposed to smuggle drugs coming from Hezbollah because this is how they make their money. And they found out that in one of those trucks there were rockets that were meant to be smuggled into Jordan, from Jordan to target Israel. Okay? So wherever there are drugs, wherever there is crime, there's also usually terror that rides on such a reality. In Gaza, it's 14 kilometers exactly of a border between a terror entity and Egypt. Okay? So Egyptians needed Hamas and Hamas needed Egypt. And we needed Egypt to be mediators between us and Hamas. So Israel increased the flow of natural gas to Egypt. So Egypt will be a mediator. So they will be the ones that will lead a ceasefire with Hamas when we need that, or will be the ones that will be the mediators to release our civilians that were kidnapped into Gaza. So it's some sort of a game, of this triangle game. But Egypt always did what was good for Egypt. So if there was ISIS in Sinai, and donors and international organizations donated to Gaza, in Gaza there were 36 hospitals.
Yes, there was.
Hamas admitted that they operated 36 hospitals. Now, if you calculate hospitals per capita, you'll see that it's a little bit way more than in any Western modern country.
There was some other Arab people from other Arab countries that were saying when they saw this figure, how is this possible?
I've seen that also. But if they have so many hospitals and so many donations, actually ISIS fighters can get medical treatment when they fight the Egyptians. So who helped them? Gazans, right? So Egypt needed Gaza. So Hamas will make sure that they will not give aid to those ISIS guys that kill the Egyptian officers and soldiers. So, if there are three parties and each party needs the other, you will find the interest that eventually will serve your personal or state interests. And Hamas needed Egypt because this is the only way they could exit abroad or bring visitors in. I don't know if you heard that, but there was a statement by Hamas senior in Lebanon that said Soleimani visited Gaza 3 times. He is the one that recommended Hamas to dig the tunnels.
Yeah. Going back here to Egypt, the border, there is a lot of things going back and forth on that border. But also we have an old ideology, the Muslim Brotherhood, founded in 1928 by Hassan al-Banna, based in Egypt. Cairo, this is something that people forget today. They look at Saudi Arabia, they look at other parts, but historically, Cairo is the center of the
Muslim Brotherhood, yes.
And the Muslim Brotherhood was founded there. Al-Azhar University, all of these things.
Hamas was created in Al-Azhar University in Cairo, on the knees of the Muslim Brotherhood.
You have this link between the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt to Hamas in Gaza. How was Hamas founded? When did this split between the Muslim Brotherhood and, the split is not real, but there was some more independence, so to say, in the Gazan movement with Hamas. How did this all start? It's late 1980s?
Yes, Ahmad Yassin from Gaza, that I met in his house in Gaza when I was a young officer, studied in Al-Azhar University, and he met the Muslim Brotherhood there, and he adopted their philosophies. And he took it back to Gaza and created Hamas. So Hamas were established at the beginning, I think it was at the end of the 70s, if I may say so, as a social organization. Okay? They collected money and they implemented Muslim religion, okay, using Islam to give what they call sadaqah. Okay, it means you give, you pull your hand to the people and you give them, okay, to the poor, to the needed. So this is how they started, giving food, helping to families with weddings, building kindergartens, and telling to the Israelis, we've been there, telling us, guys, what do you care? You prefer the kids to be in the streets so they will meet Fatah, the terrorists, and join them? Give us the kids. We will educate them in the mosques. So they will get some Muslim, Islamic education, worshiping God. And Israel said, okay, no problem with you guys. We have no problem with you. And then Hamas evolved. And when Yasser Arafat started to implement Oslo in '92, that when the discussion started, I remember it as an officer in Gaza, the Intifada was changed from stones, Molotov cocktails, demonstrations, to armed attacks from '92 already. Yeah. And then Hamas actually evolved, and on the top of this layer of da'wah, it means this social organization, they've added another layer that is called muqawama, it means resistance. For me, pure terror. So, da'wah and muqawama working together, buying the heart of the people and showing them the way of resistance. Buying the heart of the people and the way of resistance. Building the new heroes in Palestinian legacy as a process. And then they change in '88, I think, their manifest that believes in jihad and, to do whatever is needed to free Palestine. So there will be no existence to the Jewish state, and there will be a Muslim Caliphate under something bigger in the Middle East. So for years we had to deal with those two layers. And then we disengaged from the Gaza Strip in 2005. Mahmoud Abbas declared there will be elections, and this is when Hamas decided to evolve and to enter to the third stage of their evolution, becoming a political entity. In 2005, they accepted and they agreed to participate in the elections, and they won the elections in Gaza and in the West Bank. Okay? So this is the third layer of the revolution with a dream. And what was the dream? To become the entity that the streets, the people, the Muslim world, the international community will recognize as the legitimate entity that will take the control.
Full power, yes.
The full power, okay? They will be elected.
But in 2007, in the summer...
And then they were disappointed from what they got from Mahmoud Abbas. And in June 2007, they led a coup in Gaza. Okay, and they actually, I remember those 2 days, Fatah officials ran to the border. We saved their lives, by the way. Yeah. Some of them live until today in Jericho. And they executed 300 Fatah officials. They tied their hands in the back. They brought them to the high-school buildings in Gaza, shot them in the knees, and threw them down.
A lot of images also of bodies being dragged around on the streets after cars and...
Yes, those are the ones who were considered as collaborators. How you punish a collaborator? You drag him with a motorcycle on the streets of the Gaza Strip, so to spread fear. And this is actually how they controlled from 2007 and until now, even by fear. Okay, so people were actually terrified from them. But the moment they controlled Gaza, they conquered Gaza, they deleted the first layer of da'wah. Yeah. Why? Because now it's their responsibility to provide all the services to the people. Yeah. But why to do that if somebody else can do that? And who is doing that?
In many ways, the United Nations.
Okay, let's...
UNRWA. and member states.
Let's translate it to numbers. Okay?
Sure.
UNRWA. They fed 1.2 million refugees in Gaza. Let's talk about the Palestinians, because people told me, oh, they have no citizenship. Just a minute. They have an ID card, a Palestinian one. They have a passport, a Palestinian one. They have a government, a Palestinian one. They have houses, they have jobs. So why to stay with the status of refugees? A question.
Also, they are the only group which has their own regional refugee organization within the UN. There is all the others, they do UNHCR.
I understand that this is this is a decision that was taken, that Israel also agreed to that, but the goal of this status was that they will be able to build their own independent state. They could do it a long time ago.
If we look at the money, there is also another player that has been providing money, weapons, Iran, and actually previously it was more in the 90s, Saudi Arabia was providing money, but it looks like America told them enough with this, and Iran stepped in because technically Iran Shia, Hamas Palestinian Sunni, it is a bit of an unholy alliance, which is not typical. And now we had a few days ago a statement from the official spokesman of ISIS condemning Hamas for
cooperating with Shia. It's by the way, it's the same Shia that slaughtered Palestinians in Syria.
In Yarmouk, yeah.
In El Yarmouk refugee camp, yes. The same Shia, the same people who are with their alliance. By the way, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so it works here.
But the money and weapons have been coming from Iran in recent years.
More than that. Money. Let's talk about money, okay? 65% of the goods to Gaza, by a decision made by Gaza, by Hamas and by Sisi. There is a company in Egypt called Abna Sinai, the sons of Sinai. So 65% of the goods were being brought from Egypt into Gaza. Hamas taxed the goods, and from those taxes, they made an income of $700 million a year. Number two, who paid for the water, electricity, the communication? The PA. Okay, it's a lot of money. I'm talking about 35 million shekels a month for electricity, and another 20 for water.
And the PA in turn gets that money from?
The PA, it's money that we collect for them. The revenues, the custom envelope that we collect, 600 million, before we give them the money, we deduct for what we are supplying to Gaza. So somebody is paying. Qatar is giving $30 million a month. Okay, it's 12 months. How much money is that? That's a lot of money. So $700 million from Rafah, 30 million per a month from Qatar, 10 million from those 30 goes to fuel, and the money that they collect, okay, goes to their pocket, to their own pocket. And the moment they buy fuel, they buy it from Egypt. Why from Egypt? Because it's cheaper. In Israel, you will pay 7 shekels per liter, and in Sinai, it's 2.7. So they buy it from Sinai 2.7, and they sell it in 6 shekels, so they also make an income from this buy and sell process. And the money goes where? Underground, to the tunnels, to the weapons. Let's continue. Kerem Shalom crossing, 1,000 trucks a day. All trucks entering, paying the fees to the Israelis there, but they are also taxed by Hamas inside. So for 5 years, I've been the manager of the Palestinian market at the biggest cement company in Israel, as a consultant. And I sold 1 ton of cement a day to my clients in Gaza, getting the Israeli permission, okay? Now, my clients sent me the receipts back, and on those receipts, it was written 8 shekels per a ton to Hamas. 1,000 tons, 8 shekels a day. Start the calculation, and it's only from cement. And what about flour, sugar, okay, and other stuff, iron? That's a lot of money. So Hamas actually behaved in a way that they are the sovereign entity. We considered them as the sovereign entity, but actually their responsibilities were not implemented by them. It was implemented by others, even by Israel. How many workers worked in Israel until this war every day? 17,500. Now let's make another calculation. I already did that, okay? So if you were lucky to get a job until the beginning of this war in Gaza, you were paid something like 25 shekels a day, okay? Well, that's nothing, but at least it's something. But if you were lucky to get a permit and you work in Israel, you got 450 shekels a day. Okay, 17,500 workers a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year. I calculated that. Check me. Almost $500 million coming from Israelis through Palestinian workers into Gaza. Who is responsible on the economical reality in Gaza? Hamas. Who is helping Hamas to improve it? Israel. And it was from a policy that was invented in Israel. Let's build a toolbox. And this toolbox will be named soft power. And into soft power, let's invent and pour interests. So the other side will lose if something will happen. So instead of sending an F-16 with a bomb, we just close the pedestrian crossing, no workers working in Gaza, people will start demonstrating, people will lose money, they will push Hamas to the corner, and Hamas will make sure that nobody launches rockets. And they played the game. They created a routine, they learned us and understood us, and they used it against us on October 7th.
If we look at reality on the ground in Gaza, you were there, you were administrating the area of Gaza City. Today in the West, you have these marches in London, in Paris, in Berlin, where people are walking around and they are chanting various slogans about Gaza. What do you think their knowledge is about the situation in Gaza? What do they actually know?
To be honest, they knew nothing. Okay? Not many people, even in Israel, know that Israel supplies only 12% of the water to Gaza. Not many people know that we are not paying for what we are supplying to Gaza. It's the PA. Okay? Now, experts don't know that. Okay? Because I'm also writing articles, academic articles, and I'm working with some institutes also. And many experts don't know some of the facts.
Yes, that is clearly the case. And today, the amount of hashtags that have been used, for example, on Instagram or TikTok are very important. And as you mentioned, 1.5 billion Muslims in the Muslim world, maybe not all of them support, but 90-something%.
Yes, that's it. That we have 10 million fingers.
Yeah.
They have 80 million.
Yeah.
We are losing.
Also, a lot of these people in the West, they don't only get their impressions from the Muslim world, they also get their impressions from Western academia, Western intellectuals. Where do you think that misinformation is coming from? Because even in 2014, of course, there was always people that were against Israel, but it was never on this scale that we see today. Do you have any ideas on why this time it's so much bigger than in 2014?
Yes. I want to avoid one word, anti-Semitism, okay? Let's put aside anti-Semitism, okay? Even if it's there, I want to put it aside. I think that we are dealing with ignorance in some places. I think that we are dealing with interests of countries with a lot of money. People are influenced from social media. And this is the new generation, okay, that they don't wanna hear and listen to the explanation, okay? All they wanna see is the short slogans, and this is one of our problems. If you ask any Israeli, how can you explain 1, 2, 3, he will tell you, okay, listen, it's a little bit more complicated, okay? If you ask any Palestinian, what do you think about what is happening there? They are murderers, they are free that, intifada. Like short words, catchy, and it takes time to explain. You see, we are sitting here together, and it takes time to explain how things work. And we need to be smarter, we need to do it a little bit different. We also need to find our short messages that will say that the other side is pure evil. Example? Immediately, one of the outcomes of this, not round, but of this horrible event on October 7th, the massacre, is that people automatically hashtag Hamas is ISIS. That's a mistake. When somebody does that to Hamas, he actually flatters Hamas. Because what came out of Gaza during that Black Sabbath Saturday is something way worse than ISIS. And we should have we should have waited a little bit, think about it, and maybe find a new name to this new evil that emerged from Gaza. And the explanation to that, and I do it in a minute and a half. Modern jihad was invented by a guy that was born in a village near Jenin, a Palestinian sheikh, that at the end of the 70s, the late 70s, he immigrated to Afghanistan. And he traveled in Afghanistan and he bumped into, what do you think? Osama bin Laden. And he became his spiritual teacher of Osama bin Laden. And when they walked together on the streets of Afghanistan, an idea appeared in their heads and they invented Al-Qaeda. Now we all know what's Al-Qaeda, right? What Al-Qaeda did. So it started with Muslim Brootherhood that created something more radical, modern jihad by Azam al-Ahmad from Geneva, that moved to Afghanistan and created something more radical that is called Al-Qaeda. And others near them saw Al-Qaeda, oh, you are not so radical, so they invented ISIS. And ISIS traveled in the Middle East and they reached to Egypt and they bumped into, what do you think?
In Egypt, someone from Gaza.
Gazans that were Hamas, right? So those Gazans became ISIS in Sinai. And when Assisi was elected, as you mentioned, he fought ISIS hard in Sinai. So all those Gazans came back to Gaza. So when they came back to Gaza, actually, ISIS Gazans met Hamas guys in Gaza, and what they created is what came out on that weekend is something, I don't know, I will call it evil, okay?
But in the West, a lot of people say that this narrative that Hamas is somehow directed by Islamist ideology is wrong. They are a national liberation movement that only thinks about this territory, but Islamism in general, it's not really something that is important for them.
I think they can just Google the manifest. It's in Arabic, in English, in YouTube, or Google. Dr. Google is an expert, he knows that, and he will see that they call to the elimination of the state of Israel. They believe in jihad. What is jihad?
According to the British police, it can be internal struggle that has nothing to do with violence.
So this evil that is butchered us, okay? For them, this is only the beginning because they are part of global jihad. And when it comes to global jihad, it's either you die, either you become Muslim. We have seen in Africa.
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria, that Christian villages all converted to Islam to be 100% sure that they will not be butchered by those Muslims. And again, if we will not stop this evil here, if we will not put an end to what Hamas succeeded to achieve, and they achieved a lot when it comes to a victory. So in 2014, it was a victory in the eyes of the beholder. They won only by being able to stand against the strongest military in the Middle East. In May 2021, it was a victory. They won. And now they defeated us. I have no problem to say that we were defeated by a small, tiny terror organization. And we need to make sure that this defeat will be changed so they will be defeated. We need to eliminate all the people who did that, to delete them. Otherwise, it will reach to your country and to other Western countries, to their streets, to their neighborhoods, to their doors.
The offensive in Gaza is ongoing. A lot of territory has already been taken. Some is still left. But there are some voices in America calling for Biden to take a stronger position to tell Israel that it cannot achieve all of its war goals, that they should pull out at some point, they should negotiate. Do you think that, is there anyone in Israel who would take this position into consideration, or do the Israelis believe that sorry, our country, our state, we are sovereign, we take the decision on this, this is what affects us? Or do you think there is some in the political elites in Israel that are willing to, we need to work with America on a longer perspective, so we need to listen to the American voice?
I think that we don't have a lot of options. That's the problem, okay? Minister Gallant said recently that we are attacked from 7 arenas, but we took action in 6. I think that that Mr. Gallant forgot 2 other arenas, okay? Let's count the arenas. Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Yemen.
The only one, Yemen, where there was no strike yet, but in the latest days they say that maybe one of their strikes was Israeli, but we don't know.
I don't know, but it's 7 arenas, right? Okay, there's another arena, number 8, the economical siege, the economical arena.
Yeah.
Now, if we do nothing with that, would you expect that Hezbollah will do the same with Haifa port? They might, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9, the arena, the next arena. There was an attack in India, right? By Iran, by Hezbollah, by who? By Hamas. There was an attempt to do the same thing in Cyprus. And there was an attempt to do the same thing in Sweden.
Yes, the embassy in Cyprus and the embassy in Sweden.
So there is a global arena of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, terror attacks all over the globe.
And Hezbollah has previously done it in Bulgaria and Argentina.
Yes. So actually we are facing 9 arenas. But honestly, I think we face 10 arenas. Because our close allies, the Americans, are also under attacks. Their bases are attacked on a daily basis in Syria and Iraq. Now, if they do nothing, if there's no response, it means they are weak. By the way, it doesn't matter what the Americans think.
It's how they're
It
perceived.
doesn't matter that we believe that in 2014 protective edge we won the war. So what if that's what we think? What matters is what the other side thinks. And Hamas then, the first picture came out of Gaza was Hania doing like that, I won. Okay, and people asked me, what is the meaning of he won? And I said, it's a victory in the eyes of the beholder. And he said, I won. If I succeeded, if I can do it, you can do it. And that call, since 2014, I did it, you can do it, is what is happening now. Okay, from 2014. And the same thing is with the United States. They are our allies, but the arena, the Middle East, looks at them, tests them, and they are weak. So if they are weak, people get motivation to attack us even harder. And I think that the approach, the American approach, I know this is a liberal approach, okay? That says human life and humanitarian aid. This is a Western way of thinking that the radical world around us uses it as a tool against us.
But the culture when it comes to warfare in this region is very different than the culture of warfare in America and other parts of the world.
Different language. If you want to send a message, you need to send, let's say, 1,000 bombs and not 63 or 73 attacks. 1,000 bombs to send one message. There's no other way. Guys, I know it sounds horrible. I know that I sound militant, okay? It's not about that. I'm pragmatic. I want to be a human being. I want to live. I want them to live. But as human beings. And I understand professionally the reality that we are at, the language that we are at, and we need to change our language. This is how this region understands it.
When you send the message, it has to be in the language of the receiver.
In Roma, behave as
the Romans.
Romans.
Absolutely. Grisha, many thanks for taking your time and talking to us today.